Somewhere Beyond the Mist is a documentary about the minimum safe distance from my flatulence. No, it isn't. Hi, welcome to the Silver Spleen. My name is Nick Castle, and this is my review of Somewhere Beyond the Mist. I'm not a fan of art movies. I'm really not a fan of movies trying to be art movies, especially when they fail. Director Chung King-wai, who directed the documentaries KJ Music and Life and One Nation, Two Cities, wrote, directed, and edited Somewhere Beyond the Mist. He should be arrested and charged with attempted art. Charge him with failing, too. Can't hurt. Even if it does, so what? If I'm fair, I'm really the wrong person to watch these kinds of movies. An admittedly toxic mix of misanthropy, a bad attention span, and a terminal allergy to pretension make it really hard for me to watch movies like this with anything approaching objectivity, much less charity. Then again, I was sick, so this movie got the cough syrup discount. It still sucked, so tough titty. I really don't feel bad. Somewhere Beyond the Mist opens with a quote from Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. The last local movie that started like that was Enthralled, one of the worst movies this city has ever produced. That movie featured a rather interesting cut from a sex scene to someone cutting up a roast goose. Somewhere Beyond the Mist pays what is hopefully an inadvertent homage to Enthralled, cutting from a young woman who is making her morning toilet to an airliner. My response to both films is the same.
What kind of shit is that?
The director/writer/editor got his start in documentaries, which may explain why this film feels like one. Yet, rather than giving it what some breathless cinephile might call a frisson of verisimilitude, it simply makes much of the film a plodding, dull exercise in patience. The people who appear in documentaries aren't actors. Neither are the people in this movie. But I hold the cast mostly blameless because they had only one job, and the person most responsible for this travesty had three, and failed at all of them. But not, as I have already noted, for lack of trying. We are shown that the father is a bad man. Then we're shown that the father is a bad man. After that, the father is shown to be a bad man. The horse is quite dead, I assure you. But should we really expect any better? Can we honestly expect trenchant, realistic portrayal of people at the bottom of the social ladder from a director who quotes Russian literature? Knowing that people are poor is not the same thing as knowing about people who are poor. Knowing how to make a documentary doesn't mean you know how to make a feature film, even if it's based on a real story. Especially when you have several scenes in which your characters engage in actions that must, for the sake of simple logic if nothing else, have some kind of consequences, if not legal, then at least social. If your family has a screaming match in the back of a Hong Kong taxi, the driver's going to say something, if not to you, then to a police dispatcher. No. Really. If, during a parent-teacher meeting, a father starts screaming threats at a social worker, someone's going to do something. Somewhere Beyond the Mist tries very, very hard to be important. From the willful obscurantism of its title, to the Dostoevsky quote, to the metaphors that simply cannot withstand the inhuman stress tests that they're put through. The long takes and stretches of silence probably mean something to the person that made this film. Unfortunately, they maybe didn't realize that this meaning wasn't going to be clear to anyone else. Making meretricious attempts at imparting a sense of importance doesn't make things important, it just makes them tedious. But what do I know about movies? I'm sure that there is a story in there, and I'm just too much of an uncultured savage to have seen it. Yeah, that's it. I'm in the wrong because I can't appreciate the ethereal filigree of emotion that dances like a sprite across the screen in a delicate evocation of life's vicissitudes. You and your boatloads of pretentious twaddle, you pricks. Let's all hope that it was just a coincidence that this film shares a title with an album by a Chilean black metal band, because the alternative is just too terrifying to entertain. I think it's fairly obvious that I didn't enjoy this movie, but if you watch this movie and you enjoy it, I'm actually happy for you. In fact, I'd be a little jealous. But if you want to watch this movie, go ahead. Don't let my opinion stop you, because I'll be the first one to admit I don't even like listening to me. The only thing I ask is that when you do get a chance to see this movie, it's because you've somehow paid money for the opportunity. Don't steal this movie. Instead, rent it or buy a copy of it. And in fact, speaking of those things, when that becomes an option, I'll update the description with a link where you could do just that. And as long as you're thinking about spending money on movies, please think about clicking on my Patreon page, because I could really use the money, because I have a neck problem, probably from staring at this logo, and I need your help to try to get that fixed. And I would turn back and face the camera, but my neck has caught and there's no way for me to do this. It's going. Now it's gone. If you enjoyed this review, please leave me a comment. If you didn't, leave me a comment. If you enjoyed the channel, please subscribe. I'll see you again soon as I move the camera 90 degrees. Ow!